Yeah, so that's, I think, all the basics I wanted to cover before we start with one of the algorithms. Any questions you have, you can take those now. Okay, question from Prithvi. So basically 3 binary classifiers. Yes. So if you have 3 classes, you can train 3 binary classifiers. Each classifier will be corresponding to each class or one class. And let's say if you have 1,000 classes, for example, ImageNet, you can train 1,000 different binary classifiers. And that will solve the 1,000-bit classifier problem for you. All right. Any other question before we move forward? All right. If not, that's good. Okay. So that was, I think, pretty simple. It was nearest neighbor. Any questions you have before we move forward?
Professor, I have a question.
Yes, go ahead.
I'm just a little confused on what exactly did we mean by training? Because in the k-nearest neighbor classifier, is this not training when we are finding the distances accurately and updating which class a particular point belongs to? Would this not is this step not considered training?
So training is something when you try to learn some parameters, right? And you try to learn those parameters based on your training samples. So in case of your neural networks, those parameters could be weights of your neurons. Right? Mm-hmm. It could be like other parameters like the depth of the neural network or how many neurons you want in each layer. In case of CNN, again, the weights will be like the kernels. In this case, I mean, we are not learning anything, right? Using the training data.
Okay. Makes sense.
So there are no parameters which are actually being learned.
Got it.
Okay, that's why no training.
Thank you.
All right, so I think there's no other question. We have a pop quiz. So the question is again based on nearest neighbor we just discussed. And if these are like your training samples, you have 2 different classes. You have blue boxes and then you have these red dots on the right. Okay. So the question is like, what will be the decision boundary in this scenario? Okay, decision boundary is something like, it's kind of a classifier which tells you, which can be used to actually estimate which class your testing sample belongs to. Okay, so these 3 are the options. What do you think will be the decision boundary? Okay, so I think it should be available on web courses. If it's not, please let me know. Yeah, Pranay, I mean, you check your web courses. Probably you're doing for the first time. So the question will be available on web courses. You'll have to enter it there. Yeah, I think you should have, I don't know why it's enabled, but you should have, I think, At max 2 attempts, not more than that. But that's fine, right? That's because sometimes you might enter by mistake. So at least you should have one more chance.
Professor, I have done like 2 times, but it still says that your quiz has been muted. First time when I attempted, it says your quiz has been muted, and I attempted the second time, and it said the same thing.
Is it happening to other students as well?
Yes, same thing here.
Let me check. Yeah, I'm not sure. Okay, it's happening with everyone. Yeah, but I'm trying, it's working for me, so I don't know what's the issue. Yeah, well, Lucas isn't muted. Oh, that's fine. So that's like you are not able to see scores now, but I think you have submitted. Okay. So don't worry about that. I don't know why that flag is coming up. Let me check. 7. Yeah, I can see. Yeah, you have submitted, so that's good. Yeah, don't worry about the grade. We can release that later as well. So yeah, so I think as we discussed earlier, none of these is true because the decision boundary will look something like Voronoi partitioning, right? So this is definitely wrong because if you have a point here, we can clearly see like this is closer to the red one, but this line says otherwise. This is just trying to fix it in some way, but again, if you have a point at this point, somewhere here, right? It's closer to blue, but this decision boundary will say it's red category again, which is wrong. So again, this is trying to fix it, but again, this is not right because the decision boundary should be like between 2 different points. You should have a straight line. Okay, so it will look something like okay, let me change the color actually. Green. So it will look something like this until this point, and then this point comes into play, this point comes into play. So it will look something like this. And again, this is straight line. Sorry, I'm not able to draw it pretty well. Then again, these 2 points will come into play. It will something like this. And then again, these 2 points, it will be something like this. Okay, so it's again like the line perfectly dividing 2 different points will be the decision boundary. Okay, all right. So there was a 4th option, none of these, which was true. Now, any question before we move on to the next segment? All right, good. So let's move on to the next part. All right, so any questions you have before we move forward? In fact, I think we don't have a lot of time, so let's end early today because the next lecture is, I think, support vector machine, which is a little complicated. So let's keep that for the next lecture. But if you have any questions, I think we can take those now.
Professor,
Yes, Robinson, go ahead.
can I ask a question about the bonus homework? Like it's
Yeah,
nothing
can you
about
be
the content.
little louder? It's very hard to listen to
Or
you.
are the questions about the material right now, or can I ask a quick question about the homework, which doesn't have to do with, like, it's not like I'm gonna say my code or anything like that, like the bonus homework.
Yeah, sure. Go ahead. Go ahead.
Yeah, so for the autoencoder and the nearest neighbors classifier, do you want us to like build them from scratch, I bet there are like already built autoencoder like APIs. So do you want us to just use like the PyTorch framework and like layers to build the autoencoder? Or well, like that's what you want us to do, right?
Yes, yeah, you'll have to use a PyTorch framework. I mean, of course, you can use other frameworks as well, TensorFlow or Keras if you want. But PyTorch, I think, will be good because if you have done the other programming assignment on PyTorch, that will help you out. And so just design your architecture, whatever you feel is the right way to do. And of course, train from scratch. Okay.
Okay, and for the nearest neighbors classifier, do you want us to like implement this from scratch, or because I know that in scikit-learn, like there is already like an API for nearest neighbors. So do you
Yeah,
want?
you'll have to implement the algorithm.
Okay.
Don't use. Otherwise, I mean, what's there to do, right? You can just use the API and show the
Yeah, of
results.
course.
No. So implement like all the steps we discussed in the lecture today.
Okay,
Like,
sounds good.
yeah. Okay.
Okay, makes sense. Thank you.
Great. Any other question before we end it today? Okay, questions. I think question from Prithvi. If we already have full points in the first two programming assignments, does the bonus apply for other assignments? Oh, no. So this programming assignment bonus is just for programming assignments. So if your maximum is like, let's say how much it is, you have 5, right? Yeah, I think 20 points. So whatever it is, so if it's 20, then maximum you can get is 20 for programming assignments. So it's to compensate like either of your PA1, PA2, or PA4 or PA5. Okay, so if you already have full grades on your first two, one thing you can do is maybe still try this bonus one, and then maybe you can skip the next ones, right? Either PA4 or PA5. So that's one option for you. Or if you want to skip this one, that is perfectly fine. Okay, does that answer your question, Prithvi? Okay, good. All right, so it seems there is no other question. Let's end it here.
Just one last question. Sorry.
Yes, Robinson, go ahead.
Yes. If maybe you'd want to like use if you are thinking about the possibility of using stuff that you did in your project for writing a paper, like what kind of project would you recommend?
Yeah, I think we can take that offline, right? Maybe just write an email, either come to office hours. I think we can have a better discussion. Right now, I don't think it's the right time. Or if you can't join the office hours, just write an email and we can schedule like another time. That sounds good?
Yes,
Okay.
thank you.
Okay, question from Nitin. When will the grades for PA2 released? Yeah, we are working on those. It will be released soon. Okay. All right, then let's end it here. Okay. Thank you. I will see you on Thursday. Bye.